Live. All right. Welcome to our first meeting on the Committee of Equity, Diversity, Inclusion for 2025. Let the record reflect that Councilwoman Carter and myself are present, and Councilman Spatafor has an excused absence. Looking for a motion for the December 11th minutes.
I make a motion to approve the December 11th minutes as presented.
Anything to talk about?
None.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public comment. I know that we have Emery from the clerk's office here to share something for public comment.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Emery. I live in Lansing Township and I work for the city clerk, but I'm just here as a person. My presence in the city due to my work here is what I feel qualifies me to make this request, even though I'm not directly represented by you all as council members. I'm asking you to take the steps to repeal section 684.04 of the city code entitled Use of Restrooms Intended for the Opposite Sex. It seems that this provision from 1986 was written in good faith to attempt to promote safety in restrooms. However, these promoting safety efforts have more recently been co-opted to exclude and villainize trans people on a national scale. And I would like to be protected in Lansing as a trans person to pee where I please. Trans people, and in particular trans people using bathrooms and locker rooms, have taken a national spotlight since 2016 when Obama administration explained that Title IX protections extend to trans people, which the Trump 17 administration then worked to undo. Since then, there has been, dare I say, too much attention on queer people's bathroom habits. In my experience in the queer community, many genderqueer people make serious attempts to avoid using bathrooms in public out of fear. Other times, these bathroom regulations end up causing more harm to cis people, those whose genders align with their sexes. Now, Trump 25 admin has made its goal to eradicate trans people clear with Executive Order 14168, attempting to make a new biology. To be clear, no government is going to define who I am or what my gender is, though I would appreciate a meaningful attempt by the city to respect its trans people through repealing this ordinance section. The city in its human rights ordinance acknowledges the real difference between sex and gender, and it codifies sex that is not a binary system by defining sex as male, female, or intersex. I could then make the argument that 684.04 is nonsensical because opposites don't really work in a system of three, or I could ask that the city work to provide intersex specific bathrooms, but I think the easiest solution is just to repeal this section of the ordinance. While 684.04 references parties that use bathrooms intended for the opposite sex, it also provides specific protections for children and disabled people using the bathroom. Perhaps if the city does not want to repeal this ordinance for fear of repercussion for the parties it protects, a cleanup of language is in order. However, I don't think it's necessary to legislate such matters that are culturally common sense. This may seem futile or unserious, and while I think it is futile to police where people perform their biological functions, having this kind of ordinance in place sets up the potential for violence and danger to be enacted against trans people. And that is not the kind of place Lansing seems to be aiming to be. I'm happy to provide further information, brainstorm language alternatives, or provide more diverse trans testimony should the committee need further persuasion on the importance of this issue. Thanks. I also have printed copies of my comments and the relevant ordinances.
Thank you. Sure, you can make that part of the record for our minutes. Thanks for coming with that. For the city attorney, is that ordinance, is that under the criminal provision? Because it's chapter 6 is criminal, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm all for repealing ordinances that are old and outdated and not useful. Councilwoman Carter, do you have any comments or do you want?
I don't have any comments or questions. I do appreciate you being able to provide this information over to us. And so that way we can, I can review in its entirety and look to see what we can do because with outdated.
Awesome. Thank you.
So.
I will read it, but I don't think I need to read it to know which direction I would like to see us go. For the city attorney's office, can we have a draft ordinance repeal? I mean, it would really probably be striking and repealing, but it still takes some type of actual legal language, if I recall. I don't know, do we want to ask for a version that has some adjusted language.
I would say look for some
Like-
adjusted language,
Um,
more aligned with what other cities do. Well,
Sure. So normally, we or us would probably come up with that, which I'm trying to do. I don't know if we can assign the city attorney to help us with that and see if there's,
I can certainly ask the city attorney. I will say this ordinance is very clearly a penal ordinance, so I don't know if there's a way to make it inclusive without just basically making it not a penal violation anymore, because, right, there's, at some point, if it's open enough, there's just, no one's going to be guilty of a criminal violation.
yeah, I mean, which I think is a good thing.
Mhm.
But even reducing it to a civil infraction still kind of has like, I mean, okay, good, it's not criminal, but it's still something that's, I guess, quote unquote outlawed. So
Mhm.
maybe we can have it on the agenda for our next meeting, which is the second Tuesday of the next month, March. And
March 12th.
Okay.
it'll be easy to have repeal language, but can you maybe provide a sample language that would be acceptable, so we can
Yeah.
talk about it that day? Right.
Council Member Jackson, just for my notes, do you want me to note that to prepare a draft ordinance to repeal, and then perhaps you will also be providing alternative language?
Yes, and if you can just, since you know kind of like
Mhm.
what we're talking about, if you
Yeah.
can just kind of put your legal
Yep.
head out and say, is there any problem with this? You know, just kind of
Yep.
some options of what's legal and not and what we can do. All right, moving on.
Thank you, Emery.
We'll move to, thank you, Emery. Discussion item C. Thank you, Lori Welsh, for being here. We invited Lori to come and she is the sustainability manager for the city. She's been an employee for the city even before that job in the public service department, doing similar things, but not exactly the same. And she has came to council many times since her position over the last few years and explained to council the various programs, the various projects that's going on, and the savings that are ultimately associated with them. I don't recall all of them, and you don't have to go over them all this time. But what I'm looking for, okay, let me back up a little bit. So we are in the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. And when it comes to sustainability, climate change, and the carbon problem, that yes, it doesn't really see race, gender, socioeconomic, and all these different inclusion things, but it kind of does because underprivileged people often carry the brunt of the effects. So of course, there's the whole world, there's the whole United States, there's Michigan, and there's Lansing, and they each have different effects. But I would say even around here, you know, people who get asthma from the pollution generally live in certain area codes that are also poorer area codes, that's also next to the plants, that also these people that get the asthma don't always have the health care to take care of it, and so on and so forth. But long story short is I'm asking our sustainability manager, what things would you want for the budget this year? Because I plan to support you and I will ask our committee to support you if they choose. But that's why I want to have it in the committee to see if we can support you as a committee or if we're supporting you as individuals. But if you don't mind sharing, you know, maybe 5 or so minutes, however long it takes, you're in about what you would like to see for the budget if it was up to you.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I think I'll start out by saying one of the challenges with this budget is that, you know, actual implementation of projects that are going to move the needle for us in carbon reduction and emissions reductions are going to probably be grant funded or funded outside of the municipal budget. So I know we've been successful and we've pursued a lot of funding opportunities that way. So the funding that I think could be most beneficial from the municipal budget is more for kind of planning and studies and kind of to help us understand an issue and to prep us for implementation, as well as staff, which is always the kind of greatest need, because we need more people on staff to help us write those grants. We need more people on staff to help us implement projects once we do get grant funding, which is the position that we're in right now. But I do want to let you all know, because I'm not sure if you're aware, but we received a capacity building grant recently through Bloomberg Philanthropies that is going to result in 3 full-time staff people, not to work directly under me, but to work closely with me and my staff. And it remains to be seen exactly the work that they will do, but the director, the first of those 3 positions, is going to be starting later this month. So I think we'll know very soon if they can help support some of these efforts that I feel like we need staff to help with. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware that those people are going to be coming on board to help.
On that note, so I'm just foreseeing, oh, well, you're gonna have 3 people coming. No need to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Is there a need beyond those 3 people, especially, I mean, you don't know what work they're gonna do. Is there other work? Do you anticipate them writing grants? Do you anticipate them implementing current programs or new programs? Or
if it were up to me, it would be helping to implement what we already have on our plate. If I had to guess, I would say that it's probably going to be some of that, as well as helping write grants and funding new projects as well. But yeah, beyond that, what I have a need for right now, because we have a long-running recycling program where we have seen a reduction in participation and tonnage. We have a new food waste and organics program that is a pilot that we want to expand. We are trying to build a circular economy where we can find ways to not dispose of items in a traditional way in the landfill, find other ways to reuse and upcycle and those types of things. So we're trying to follow best practices for cities to develop that. So that's where I'm looking for more experienced FTE staff that could implement that. I don't anticipate the Bloomberg folks being, experienced to do that kind of work. We did put in a request for an FTE this year, and I am prepared to utilize whatever budget that I have to get the work done one way or the other. If we don't get an FTE, we can hire a consultant or something like that. But
what's FTE stand for?
I'm sorry, full-time employee. So it's just myself and one other full-time employee right now. And for the work that I anticipate needing, ideally, we would have another one who has a pretty strong background in those things.
Okay. Anything?
So when you speak about some of the projects, recycling program, food-based pilot, alternative ways for our trash, is those the ones, those are all new projects that you're considering?
Most of them are new. And I think the older ones, existing ones, are more pertaining to the recycling program. We've had a recycling program for a very long time, since the early 90s, very successful, and it still is successful. But in the last 5 years, since my position changed, there really isn't any dedicated staff to growing and enhancing the program and making sure that we are, keeping the participation up and recovering as much as we can. And I think that gap is one of the reasons why we're seeing, our numbers aren't where we would like them to be.
So can I also ask, yesterday there was some conversation from some constituents regarding our sustainability for our city. And one thing was addressed as far as our trash issues, back to your point with air pollution, the constant trucks that are coming through the neighborhoods. That was very prominent in the discussion. Is there any conversation of what that looks like? Because the mayor did speak on the 3 new staff, so he did speak to that piece of it. But is there anything that you have in your radar as far as how we can minimize that type of
Like pollution. Yeah. What I hope is that the Bloomberg staff can assist with that, because initially one of the priorities that we named when we applied for that program was environmental justice issues like health concerns, asthma rates in certain parts of the city. So I feel like there's a lot of potential for them to help move us in that direction.
Question. You mentioned specifically maybe a staff for the recycling, landfill, different programs, and keeping the numbers. Can you kind of just explain, like, just briefly, like what the work is, but like what the benefit to the city is, whether it's savings or otherwise?
I think that if we can get our tonnage up, then we are going to be able to better meet the terms of our contract with our processor that takes all the materials that are collected. We're not meeting our minimum tonnage standards right now. And so if we can get that up, I think we will be doing much better.
How could a person help with that?
Basically, I think that what we need to do is some foundational work. We need a community waste audit. We need to look at some data. What is being thrown away? What can be recovered? Kind of some waste characterization to determine what is in our waste stream, how much food waste and organic could be captured, how much recycling can be captured, and then determining kind of industry best practices on ways that we can do that. And then in addition to that, it's just public engagement, a lot of education and outreach to create awareness about the programs.
Can you just briefly go into what the food-based pilot initiative is?
Yes, back in September, mid-September, we started this pilot and we placed a couple of curbside carts. It's very similar to the trash and recycling carts. They're just specially marked, so it's food waste only at every Lansing Community Center and then the downtown fire station. It's for any kind of food waste, so if anything at all, meat, bones, dairy, whatever. And it's free for people to participate. We have a list of, I think, almost 300 registered users, but there are others who use the program that aren't registered. And we've been able to capture almost 20,000 pounds of food scraps since the program started in September. And we're currently crunching some numbers to demonstrate potential like emission reductions and other environmental benefits from that. And it's impactful. So we really want to enhance that.
Normally the food would go in the landfill and like decompose and emit methane.
Methane, yes.
That's worse.
Yeah.
Worse.
Yeah, really powerful greenhouse gas.
Right, so if it doesn't make it to the landfill, it gets used as fertilizer.
Yep, it gets processed into compost. And so we don't see the emissions when that happens.
Does Lansing have to track its landfill emissions like those methane, or does that not happen? Or does it happen because it goes somewhere else? Like, do we keep track of how our landfills are doing?
Well, how the landfills are doing, not the city doesn't necessarily. I think it's more of a county issue, but we do follow the emissions from that and other sectors when we do our greenhouse gas emissions inventory. We're currently in the process of doing our second inventory, and that will give us the kind of the baseline data that we need to kind of prioritize based on where these emissions are coming from.
Anything else, Councilwoman?
No.
Anything you want to add for things that we might want to know? I mean, that's pretty specific information I want to get from you. I don't know if you want to get any from us or share anything else.
I'll just share that on my my priority list for the next year or two out. I think it's important that we use the greenhouse gas data that I just mentioned. And I'm also pursuing a climate vulnerability assessment, which is something the city hasn't done. And from that, I'd want to go into an update of our existing climate action plan for municipal operations and combine that with the citywide sustainability action plan into one very comprehensive plan. So that's my wish list for the next year to 2 years out.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the one thing that, I mean, I can pretty much hang my hat on is another person. That'd be number one, probably.
Yeah.
FTE.
Yes.
That's right.
Contractual workers are great, and half my staff are contractual workers. They do excellent work, but I really need somebody with a strong background in these things to get the work done.
Well, thank you. I don't have anything else for discussion item C. Ms. Welsh, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Anything to add?
And of course, when you come to your, when we do the budget things, make sure you let everybody know about all the great savings that
Yeah,
you've been working on along with the.
I will do that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate your support.
Hi.
Finally.
You're welcome to come to the table or stay there if you want.
I can come to the table. I apologize for being late.
You're all right. We, just on time as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, good.
So we have Cheryl Bernard here, and she is seeking appointment as a third ward member of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Advisory Board with a term to expire June 30th of 2027.
Yes.
Cheryl, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about yourself, your background, maybe some experiences if you choose, and why do you want to join this board?
Okay, well, my name is Cheryl Bernard. I've been in Lansing since, well, off and on since 1981. I work for the state right now in the WIC division, so, which is very diverse. So I feel like because across the state, we have so many departments, so many WIC programs across the state, that diversity is a really big issue with that, you know, because we have so many people coming into Lansing. In fact, I looked up what the racial breakdown was for Lansing. And when I saw that, it looked like a 0.6% of Native Americans in the Lansing area, and not too many of, I think it was 6% of Asian population and 23% of the African American population, and 5%, I think it said, of Hispanic population in the area. And I thought, wow, you know, we need some diversity in the Lansing area. We need to pull everybody together. How can we do that? I know there are festivals that take place and programs that take place, but do people really know about those? How can we get that out? How can we actually, you know, market these programs that are going on, such as powwows or the Hispanic festival that takes place, or the African American parade that takes place, and Juneteenth programs, and just programs in general. I mean, I've been to a few of the programs and they are like amazing. And when this opportunity came up, I just thought, wow, on the board, what could we do to actually bring everyone together? How can we do this? How, you know, what are some of the mechanisms? What are some of the marketing that we can do to make sure that people are coming to out here to the programs and learning about the different cultures that we have, not only here in the Lansing area, but those that are in the East Lansing area as well, because they come to the Lansing, you know, they're coming into Lansing, they're out at MSU, they're working in state departments, city departments, county departments, and we need to, in my opinion, I was just thinking, we need to just pull people together some kind of way, especially now, you know, with everything that's getting ready to go on with the next administration and all. I just feel that it's even more important that we stay strong with diversity, equity, and inclusion, that we show that we're here for people, that we show that we're here for the community of Fort Lansing, and how we can keep them strong and focused on the mission at hand. I worked with the Urban League years ago when I was in Lansing and did a lot of programs with diversity and getting students. This was more for students in schools and programs that we offered to students. There was a program where I developed having professionals go in to the schools at 8th grade level and talking to the students, because we know that with our students, sometimes when they're in the 8th grade, they're not doing well. 9th grade, they start getting their high school credits, and it's, okay, what can we do to turn you around to let you know that, hey, you can make it. So there was a program that I developed where I had professionals go into the schools, talk to the students in the 8th grade levels, and it was just the Lansing School District. And it was more of a minority speakers, because I wanted students to understand that you may think that you can't make it because of your grades now, but two, because of being African American or Hispanic, that you feel like you're not going to be able to achieve your goals. So the speakers that I had come into the schools were African American and Hispanics. And then I got a lot of other people who wanted to come in because they just loved the program and wanted to be a part of it. So I think that's a lot to
Thank
do
you.
with that. So I can keep going
I
and
can
go.
see, I can see. I'm just gonna pull you back a little bit, because we might have some questions.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, thank you. Thank you for exuding your passion behind this, this initiative. So you spoke a little bit about bringing various programs together. How do we bring awareness? What are some of your thoughts about how we can bring those intricate pieces together so they're not working individually into separate silos?
Well, I think part of that is we have to go out and meet the people where they are. So in order for that to happen, we have to be at their meetings, we have to show up, and we have to be available when they say, hey, this is what's going on. Can you come to one of our meetings? Can you help us spread the word? Can you do this? I did that with the American Cancer Society as well, meeting with different groups and pulling them together for cancer walks and for breast cancer programs that we put on, and going to the different churches and letting them know that, hey, we're here for you. There's this program. What can we do to help?
The other piece is, I know you said you worked with Justice League for 8th grade students back then. Are you looking to implement this again if you were to serve on this board?
I would love to do something like that again. I just saw on the news that I think there's a program similar to that, or they were talking about something with that with the Lansing School District. But yes, I would love to get that implemented again and up and running.
Thank you.
My only question was more of a comment, and it's just to remind everybody who sits in your position trying to get on the board that diversity, equity, inclusion is, of course, more than, race or
Yes.
race identity and all that, age, gender. There's a lot more than what's named on there. So just for all the board members, are you able to keep an open mind about the totality of the different diverse people and inclusion measures, I assume?
Definitely. I took care of my dad until he passed away. He was 96. I took him to events with the senior centers and just had a ball. So yes, no, I understand that it's more than just race and ethnicity. It's age and gender and all that. Yes.
Abilities.
Disabilities.
Identities. Anything else? Looking for a motion.
I make a motion for the resolution appointment of Cheryl Bernard, 3rd Ward member to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Board.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. So if you want to be sworn in person, you can come to our meeting on,
Should be the 24th, but if that ends up being different, I'll let you know.
Okay,
Yeah,
And so
it's a
that,
council meeting at 7.
yeah, so you can either on that day come up where you say, swear to do all the things, yes, yes, yes. All right, get a nice picture. Or if you don't want to, or you're busy, you can come anytime after that day, assuming that you pass, which I'm sure you will. Go to the clerk's office and sign on the dotted line.
looks like the 24th of this month. Looks like it's pretty clear on my calendar, so I will put that down on my calendar.
You just let Sherry know if something changes.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else to discuss?
Nothing else on my end.
We have at least one agenda item, thanks to Emery. And we are adjourned.
Emery, the sample language that Councilmember